Have you ever felt like no matter how much you earn, you're just treading water? You know, you've got a good job, a decent income, but you still feel kind of trapped? Well, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to break down the blueprint to escape that feeling for good. So let's start with remember that might just stop you in your tracks. 78%. That's how many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And get this, it's not just people in low-wage jobs. We're talking about folks with six-figure salaries, too. It's this widespread sense of financial fragility, this quiet crisis that's hiding in plain sight. And this number right here helps explain why. The average American household is carrying over $104,000 in debt. And you just think about that for a second. Between the mortgage, the car loans, the credit cards, a huge chunk of our income is spoken for before it even hits our bank account. That's a ton of pressure to live under. I love this quote because it just nails the feeling, doesn't it? What appears to be prosperity, but functions as a gilded cage. You have all the signs of success, the nice house, the new car, but you feel totally locked in. Your lifestyle costs a fortune, and yet high income is just barely enough to keep the whole thing running. It's a beautiful prison for sure, but it's still a prison. So how do you break out of that cage? Well, the key is this idea called a financial independence. And let's be super clear. This isn't some crazy fringe idea about retiring at 30 to go live in a yurt. It's actually much more profound than that. It's about gaining the single most valuable thing in modern life, choice. The power to choose your work, to choose where you live, to choose how you spend your time. So what is it exactly? Well, the definition is surprisingly simple. Financial independence is just a point where your assets, your investments, your real estate, whatever you've got, are making enough money on their own to cover all of your living expenses forever. It's the moment your money finally starts working for you instead of the other way around. And that brings us to maybe the most important question in this entire journey. What's your number? See, the amazing thing here is that this isn't some vague, fuzzy dream. It is a real, concrete number that you can actually calculate. And it's completely unique to you and your life. And believe it or not, the math is dead simple. You just take your total annual expenses, everything you spend in a year, multiply that by 25, and man, that's your FI number. This is all based on something called the 4% rule, which is a well-tested strategy that shows you can safely pull out 4% from your investments each year and most likely never run out. It makes the goal a real target based on your actual life. Okay, so that number might seem impossibly big. How in the world do you actually get there? Well, the mechanics are actually really straightforward. There are 3 powerful levers you can pull to speed up the whole journey. This is where you really truly take control. And here they are, the whole shebang. Earn more, spend less, and invest the difference wisely. That's it. That's the entire game. It all boils down to how well you can manage these 3 things. So let's break them down one by one. So, lever 1, increasing your income. This chart perfectly illustrates why loyalty to a single company rarely pays off. Your internal raises are usually, 3 to 4% a year? But switching jobs can easily get you a 15, maybe even a 20% bump. I mean, look at the difference over a decade. It is massive. Strategically changing jobs is one of the fastest ways to literally supercharge your savings rate. Now for lever 2, spending less. Most of us get hung up on this small stuff, right? Like cutting out the daily latte. But look at where our money really goes. The big 3, housing, transportation, and food, they eat up over 60% of the average budget. If you can optimize just one of those, like finding a cheaper place to live or driving an older car, the impact is way, way bigger than cutting 1,000 tiny expenses. And finally, lever 3, investing. The goal here isn't to become some stock-picking genius. In fact, trying to time the market is exactly why the average investor does so poorly. Look at that gap. We panic and sell when things are low, then get greedy and buy when things are high. The real key? It's simple. Buy low-cost index funds that just track the whole market and then just leave it alone. Automating your investments is the best way to beat your own worst enemy, your emotions. Okay, so all this theory is great, but real progress only comes from action. So what can I do right now to get the ball rolling? Here are 3 simple, high-impact steps you can take this week. No excuses. First, get your baseline. Calculate your net worth. That's just your assets minus your liabilities. You can't improve what you don't measure. Second, if your job offers a 401k match, you need to contribute enough to get every single penny of it. It's a free, instant 100% return on your money. Don't leave it on the table. And third, automate something. Set up a recurring transfer of just $50 into an investment account. Honestly, the amount doesn't matter nearly as much as building the habit. You know, as you start moving down this path, you begin to realize something pretty profound. This whole journey, it isn't really about a pile of money or about quitting your job. The money, that's just the tool. The real prize, the actual goal, is something much, much bigger. It really all comes down to this: the freedom to design life on your terms rather than accepting default options. It's the power to say no to projects you hate and yes to adventures you crave. It's about trading a life of obligation for a life of intention. That is what financial independence is really about. And that is a goal worth fighting for.